Hey, hope everybody's getting ready for a nice Thanksgiving. Got a lot to cover this week and a lot on the agenda for next. This week, we've got job openings at an extremely high level still. We actually have Fed members starting to share a little bit of concern around inflation data. And we'll talk a little bit about the Rivian IPO since that seems to be the hot topic here this week. My name is Brandon Steele, financial advisor with Mainsail Financial Group here in Bellevue. And our job each week is to bring you the market updates, the trends, the things that we're watching. Again, hopefully weed out some of the noise and really just bring you the stuff that really matters. It's been super nice out here in Bellevue. It's been sunny, cold for sure. I went on a morning run this week, and like when my lungs start hurting to go for a run, I think that's when I usually know it's time to start moving that workout to the indoors. So I think I'm done for the year, but hopefully you're enjoying the sun. And this week, again, we got quite a bit to cover, although it's not a lot of data. There's been a lot of big events going on. So I'll talk about some of the data first, and then we'll talk a little bit about the events. The first thing is job openings came out last week, and it was still a huge, huge number. We still have 10.4 million job openings, and the job quits number was at 4.2 million. Not a good sign, obviously. For those who follow us, you know the non-farm payrolls number recently was really strong. The initial jobless claims each week have been coming down so far. Hopefully that continues. So we've seen good signs of that, but obviously there's still a lot of jobs out there and a lot of people leaving work as well. And so hopefully this trend continues and we can get back to some degree of full employment. This week, outside of the data, has been kind of crazy. We had Rivian IPO, Rivian stock. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. It's been all over the news. Rivian's another electric vehicle car maker. But they also have some other business that they're trying to work on with a fleet and Amazon and all these things. So it's been a huge, huge IPO, one of the maybe most popular ones, I would say, probably this year. And it is crazy how this thing is just like shot through the roof. I'm not saying go get it. I'm not saying don't go get it. But what I did want to touch on is the hype that we're starting to see, like in all aspects of the market. But I think this Rivian IPO really stresses this. Keep in mind, this company doesn't have any earnings, right? And it's now valued at more than Volkswagen as a whole. So again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Rivian. I'm not saying that EVs may or may not be the future of cars. But I do think that things have gotten a little out of hand when a company with zero earnings is worth more than Volkswagen in total. Again, if you look 5 years from now, maybe the price still makes sense. Like it could still be a good investment for the long run. But certainly the way it stands today, that is a high price. And so the question you've got to ask yourself if you're looking at this is, how far into the future am I willing to buy, right? So just got to keep that in mind. And again, I'm not necessarily bringing this up for Rivian in particular, but just more so the broader markets in general. Like all these things have just been so based on hype lately. And I don't want to say concerning, but it is a little eye-opening when you just see these giant valuations for companies that really aren't producing any income yet. Again, not saying they won't, but we saw this with like SPACs a ways back. For those who remember, had this huge run up in all these SPACs, and then those kind of fell through. Like I think there's just a lot of money in the economy, and we're starting to see the results of that to some degree. So it could last for a long time. It could last for a short time, but something to pay attention to, that's for sure. And then this week, we've also had a lot of Fed members coming out, not Powell himself, but a lot of Fed members coming out and saying that they're a little concerned about the inflation data that they're seeing. So again, this started with a change in tone from Powell a couple of weeks back, and it seems like there's more and more reality sinking in from the Fed. Will they raise interest rates? I don't believe so, but at least maybe they're starting to take it a little more seriously. So important to watch that too. And then we also had, back to the data side of it, we also had retail sales numbers come out this week. And retail sales were up on Tuesday, 1.7%, which slightly beat expectations. So it's just amazing to see sales continue. And for those who know me and have followed our weekly updates, I do believe a big part of that has to do with inflation. We've seen that so much here recently. So I don't know that it's purely volume. I think a lot of it has to do with higher prices. So take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, but nonetheless, retail sales still going and continuing. And obviously, we've got the holidays coming up here soon too. So let's see. We also had housing starts come out down slightly from last month, a bit lower than expectations, but yet, at least here in Seattle anyways, housing prices still continue to go up and up and up locally. It's like we just can't build enough houses for the demand or the population. But next week we have existing home sales numbers coming out, so that will be very important to keep an eye on. On top of that, just get ready. Next week we've got GDP revision, we've got initial jobless claims, we've got income numbers, consumer spending, inflation, and the Fed minutes all on Wednesday next week, just before the Thanksgiving holiday on Thursday. Markets will be closed Thursday, so Wednesday is just like overload, obviously. We're going to bring this all to you on Wednesday, so we'll do this a little bit early next week to make sure you kind of are caught up on everything before the holiday and stuff yourself full of turkey. So we're going to skip the question of the week this week because tonight we have a great webinar that we're hosting around some of the tax changes and the infrastructure bill and what that means to investments. So we'll include that in the comments as well. So if you do want to join us, go ahead and hop on that. You need to register pretty quickly. That event's at 5 p.m. here tonight on Thursday the 18th. But feel free to do that if you would like to join us. We're going to be talking about a lot. Again, we'll skip the question of the week here this week, but get ready for next week on Wednesday again, just because of the holidays. We're going to be bringing to you a lot of information, and then we'll get back to our question of the week at that point as well. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next Wednesday, and enjoy the sun if you're out here in the Bellevue, Seattle area.